Real Estate Pro Talk is a live radio talk show dedicated to educating its listeners on the entire spectrum of real estate matters. Part of the American dream is owning a home or investment property, or perhaps even becoming a real estate agent yourself. Paul Vanas and his team of real estate professionals have over 250 combined years of experience in the industry. In other words, we can make it happen for you. Why go down the road less traveled when we can put you directly on the real estate superhighway? Whether buying or selling in today's complicated real estate market, or if you just need advice about jumping into the real estate business for a career change, you'll need a decisive edge based on experience. Call Paul Vanas at 401-265-6144 for a free, no-obligation consultation. That's Paul Vanas at 401-265-6144.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Vanas, and welcome to Real Estate Pro Talk. This show is a real estate-oriented program which will cover a variety of topics every Friday afternoon from 3 to 4 p.m. here on WOON Radio. Some of the topics we'll be talking about together today will be how to buy and sell a home, how to choose a real estate agent, how to choose a mortgage broker, staging a home, home inspections, and a whole lot more. I've been in the real estate business coming up on 40 years now, of which I own a real estate brokerage company, a real estate school, and a land development company. All of the knowledge that we're going to try to impart on you today is based on the continuing education classes that I teach licensed real estate brokers and agents, along with my personal experience and those of our expert guests. The goals in doing this is so you'll have the information in hand when you need a real estate professional. You're welcome to call us today at 401-766-1240 and ask any question on the subjects we'll be discussing, or you can call me after the show on my personal cell phone at 401-265-6144. And of course, our show is uploaded to YouTube. All you have to do is go to youtube.com and type in Real Estate Pro Talk in the search box, and all of our episodes are there for your listening enjoyment if you miss any of the parts of our interview. Today, I'm pleased to welcome Scott McGee of the Stearns McGee team at RE/MAX Properties in Smithfield. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, how are you?
Good,
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm glad you came on. I've been wanting to get you on for a while because you're kind of like the Northwest Rhode Island guy. Your signs are everywhere up there.
We're trying, for sure.
Gloucester. But before I get into that, I always ask this question because our audience wants to know, how did you get in the real estate business? A little bit of your history.
Actually, it was kind of like I was in the restaurant business for a long time. But before that, I was in plumbing, construction, that kind of thing. And then the restaurant business got me to meet a ton of people. And then I started doing basically some flips and things like that. And I just became interested after I started doing some flips and buying multifamily houses.
Yep.
So that's kind of how I got into it. And I had bought, I own Gators, right? And then we had bought the Victory Diner,
right?
And which is now, and the other one next door is Uncle Ronnie's. So
right.
Basically those were kind of like flips. So we flipped the diner in the restaurant, and my wife was working at Gators and basically said she didn't need me anymore because it was been 3 years.
Wow,
so
that's right.
Yeah, I decided to get into real estate.
So now, did you get in because you thought you could find more opportunities as an agent as compared to not being an agent? Because I know when I jumped in a long time ago, I was investing, and I thought, geez, if I become an agent, I can find more opportunities, and it ended up being just the opposite for me. I found more opportunities before I was an agent for myself personally, and then I started representing clients.
Right. And that's exactly right. I hardly do any of the investments or flips. I do some here and there, but it's mostly real estate because you have your clients that want them now, so
exactly.
It's kind of a conflict almost if you take too many of them.
Right,
so
right.
And you want to get the repeat business and get a good reputation out there.
Wow. So how many years you been doing it now?
Almost 16.
Wow. Yeah. Because I see your signs out there everywhere. I think every year when I do market share numbers, I was kind of impressed when you started about 15 years ago with the amount of success that you had so early in the business.
Right. I was actually really lucky and it was really the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of people that I had knew really well from there, and just getting leads from the restaurant. It was really kind of where I started.
Yep.
And it worked out pretty well.
Well, you go back to sales skills. People, you got to talk to people to make it in sales, and that's exactly the golden rule.
Exactly, and then you get to know people, like your regulars in the restaurants too, mm-hmm. So they trust you.
Right.
And I think real estate has a lot to do with trust too.
Wow. Well, tell us about the team. Tell us about the Stearns McGee team.
So
now,
Mike
the
Stearns,
other half is Mike Stearns,
Mike Stearns,
who's been around forever in Burrillville,
Yeah,
right?
we say Mike has his Burrillville license,
Yeah.
right? Mike's great. He was the one that gave me the opportunity when we were selling Mama McGee's, it was called, which is Uncle Ronnie's.
Yeah.
And he just, I told him I really liked it. I was helping do the pamphlets to get it going and things like that. And then from there, we just kind of built the team because we got busy. Once I started, we just started getting busier and busier. So we just kind of grew the team. And yeah, so there's 12 of us now. So
12?
Yeah,
Wow.
there's 12 of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who are the people on your team?
Elizabeth Murray. So she was actually a bus girl at Gators.
Okay.
And she was someone I knew had work ethic. Jen O'Hearn.
Yep.
We have Linda Morrissey.
I see.
We gotta go through the whole team here. Eric Brouillard.
Yep.
Right. Christine.
Yep.
And we have Joanne Sylvia.
I see.
And Kristen Moore.
Wow.
You tested me. I
Kristen,
can't forget anyone here.
Yeah, Kristen's on your team. I didn't know that.
Kathy
yeah,
LaValle.
Okay.
We have Kathy.
Yeah, wow.
She's doing great. Rachel Baptista, she's really good too.
Wow.
A girl named Lex, we have, a new girl.
Really?
And Freddie.
Yep.
So, did I name 12?
I think so.
think
I
so,
wasn't
right?
counting, but that's a good group.
I hope I didn't forget anyone.
So,
Liz, if I forgot anyone, call in.
right. What's the advantages of having a team as compared to doing it on your own, like a lone wolf? Is there a...
We like the team, and it's honestly, it's one of those things. Some people like it, some don't. I like the team just because I know that we can cover each other. So we never miss a showing, basically. It's like 99.9%. Like when we can always cover showings.
Sure.
Someone goes away on vacation. Like
Makes
I
sense.
just came from a closing right now, and I was covering someone that's in Florida. So it just works out. We like it. We like it better that way. Yeah, it's kind of like I feel like you make less, but at the same time, you can relax a little bit too.
More organized.
Yeah, it's more organized.
Yep.
Definitely.
Wow.
Definitely. Yeah.
Now, what areas primarily? I mean, obviously you cover the whole state of Rhode Island because you're all licensed in the state of Rhode Island. But is there a specific area you like to focus on?
Well, you know what? We kind of go all over the state, but we mostly do Northern Rhode Island. Okay, so there's Gloucester, Burrillville, Smithfield, North Smithfield, Woonsocket, Cumberland. But we also do Mass too. So we're doing the bordering towns: Douglas, Uxbridge, Millville, Blackstone.
I see.
We'll go anywhere, but for the most part, that's kind of our market. Summertime, we do, few in Narragansett, things like that. So,
okay. So you're all over the place.
Yeah, we're all over the place.
Yeah.
We still we have listings in Providence now, Cranston. So, I got a call today for someone in Westerly. And we'll take that one too.
Wow.
We'll take anything.
Who's going to travel down to those shows?
That'll be me.
Right? 50 miles on the phone all the way down Route 95. Right. Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
because like Northwest Rhode Island, like Burrillville has exploded. Burrillville,
it's wild.
15 years ago, was a sleepy little town. I was up at the town hall this morning, and I think when I lived there 15 years ago, I think there were 12 or 11,000 residents. And I just happened to ask the clerk today how many residents are in Burrillville. And she said it's like 16,500. It's like a third more. I mean, it's just exploded.
Yeah, it's wild. Sure.
Yeah, and it's not just you think of Burrillville out in the Buck Hill
sticks,
Road
yeah.
out near
Staghead.
Wallem Lake or something, but it's really it's a metropolis now.
It is.
You get there on East Avenue.
People love Burrillville. They really do. Especially the people that are from Burrillville or whatever. They just love it there.
Right.
You know, definitely.
What are the advantages? What are some of the you're talking to a lot of buyers, obviously. Are there any advantages that the buyers specifically are looking for based on the Northwest Rhode Island? Are they picking a town for a certain reason?
I would say, people just like certain towns. They really do. Like the Burrillville people stay in Burrillville for the most part.
Right.
And it's kind of like that with North Smithfield too. We find Woonsocket, we get a lot of Woonsocket, we've been getting a lot of out-of-state buyers also.
Okay.
And quite a few actually. And I think
because the Massachusetts
I
prices
think
are too
those
crazy.
Boston prices, those areas, they've just outpriced themselves at this point. So those people are moving this way. We notice that in Providence too.
Really?
Like a lot more commuters. There's a lot more rental. They're building more complexes for rent.
Really?
Because people are commuting because it's just the rents are ridiculous.
Wow.
So they just outpriced themselves.
Yeah, so I know I had we mentioned Wood Avenue on the break here before the show opened up, and I had a listing here in Woonsocket on Wood Avenue last year at this time actually, and it was all Blackstone and Uxbridge people,
Mass people
that were coming down looking at this thing because the prices up there, I guess, are a third higher.
They really
right?
are, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat. So
Wow.
It's nice to see Woonsocket popping the way it is too. We don't have a lot we don't have a lot of listings. The inventory short in Woonsocket too right now.
Really?
So yeah, this is probably the strongest I've seen Woonsocket in since I've been doing it, I think.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's really strong.
Yeah.
We're getting the, decent prices.
Yep.
So.
And two, the rates. What are the rates?
I just talked to Charisse over at Milford Federal today. We were in a closing together, and she was like, I think she was like 3.2 for
Right.
a 30-year.
Right.
And you can actually get less than that for if you go in like a 15-year.
I was just going to say, I was teaching a class yesterday. One of the people giving the class was a mortgage originator, and he told me that he just got somebody a rate of 2.75
Wow.
for a 15-year mortgage. I've never heard.
That's like free. That's free.
That's unheard of. I mean,
that's free money. Like max out everything you have at that point.
Right. Because when I started back in the early 80s, I remember the Rhode Island housing rate was 16.95 when the regular rate was 18.
Yeah, my first house, it was 11%.
Yeah.
And that was a 3-family. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Like I said, it's like free money, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
really
mean,
is.
And of course, that was all tax deductible, based upon the tax laws at that time, and we got a portion of it back, but still,
right.
Right. Anyone, borrowing money right now at 2 or 3%, they're crazy to pay the loan off just to have accessibility to the money, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, are there any like the towns in Northwest Rhode Island like? So you don't see like does Gloucester draw a particular type of person as compared to Burrillville?
Absolutely. Well, Gloucester, Burrillville are similar.
Okay.
Even Forster, I find like they're the same. I don't know how to like classify certain people, but they're definitely different people.
Yeah.
And then it's
they
pretty
like
funny.
the woods.
They like the woods. They like
the
they
serenity.
like their privacy.
Yeah.
And they just that those people just like their privacy basically.
Right.
Funny story. I'll tell you a funny story.
Sure.
I had 2 buyers in the last 6 months that their criteria was, I want to be able to go out in my backyard. This is a guy, by the way. I want to be able to pee and nobody can see me. That's what they said. So I said, well, there you go, right? So we had to look for the right piece of land with no houses behind it, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I thought it was funny.
Yeah, no, it is. That's hilarious.
But 2 people told me that, not just one. So I thought that was cool.
And that's the way. That's the mentality, because it's funny you say that because I used to get people from the city years ago. They would come from an 8,000 square foot lot or a 5,000 square foot lot, and they'd say, "Well, I want to move to 10 acres in Burrillville," and I said, "Geez, you realize 10 acres is like 430,000 square feet, and you have a 5,000 square foot lot. You can put like several hundred of your lots
together."
And they go, "Oh wow, I didn't think about it that way." I said, that's how much that's how much
Definitely.
land. Yeah,
Sure.
I found that too. I found back when I was living in Burrillville, the people that I was dealing with, certainly they want the serenity, they want the quiet. The weather in the summertime, once the sun goes down, it cools off a heck of a lot more than the city.
Right.
You don't
people
use
like
your
the lakes out there,
Yeah,
the woods and the lakes, they love.
recreation areas. Wow.
Sure.
Is there a particular house that you see drawing more than
Ranches.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. And which I feel it's changed since I started, and that was 2005-06. I feel like everyone, the younger buyers, the newer buyers, I felt like they wanted all colonials,
Really?
2 floors. Now the younger buyers are asking for ranches,
see.
and I don't know, it's just one of those things, I think it's just like,
Wow.
I want to say lazier times, I guess,
Yeah,
but, or
No,
either that or they're thinking ahead, like, hey, we can stay in this house forever because it's a ranch,
Right.
But people do like the one levels, and it's the typical, they love the master bedroom on one side, all open living in the middle.
I see.
2 beds on the other with a bathroom.
Separated.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're getting a lot of ranches.
Really?
Yeah.
And I would think the baby boomers want to go back to those as well. They want to sell those big colonials and go back to,
The ranch.
We had Jeannie Elson Gordon on here a few weeks ago. We spent 10 minutes talking about stairs and just going up and down the stairs. And, at some point in your life, you leave stuff on the stairs. So the next time you go up,
right.
you can
So you just
take them
pick
with
it
you
up.
instead of going up and down the stairs. And,
Right.
it's like the people that live in these tri-level townhouses and the washer and dryer is down in the basement. Just imagine you're up on the top floor and you need a pair of socks or something, and you're hustling.
You're bringing your baskets down or whatever. too,
It's crazy. Yeah. So you see the ranch houses, huh?
A lot
and now,
of
is that
ranches.
just a regular ranch or like a raised ranch?
No, regular ranch, one level. That's
Really?
pretty much what we're doing. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's what we get a ton of requests for.
Yep.
But I mean, people always love the colonials, the capes, things like that. But we get a lot. I mean, with a cape too, you get sometimes 1 bed on the first and 2 on the second, where they don't want to separate from the kids.
Right.
So that there's a lot of different buyers for those.
Oh.
Is
there a particular price range that's hot right now, other than the
hot
obvious
price
first?
range? Yeah, the hot price range is $250 to 350 really.
Okay.
Right now.
From an affordability.
Yeah. Yep. And then what the higher ends have been selling too though. So which usually they sit a lot longer. They've been selling pretty good. So.
Yeah. Do you see, in your market right now, do you see the move-ups happening, like the person selling the house they bought, I don't know, 5 years ago as a first-time home buyer's house, and they're going to move up into a bigger house, or that lakefront house?
Not a ton of that, honestly.
You don't see the move up. Okay.
I find and again, just trying like younger, older kind of thing. I feel like younger buyers now.
Yep.
First of all, they rent forever. Like they really do. I feel like the younger buyers these days, they like to enjoy their life first, almost.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
No, that's very true.
They like renting. They like coming home from work, going out to dinner, and spending their money basically enjoying life, which I don't really disagree with.
Yep.
But I will say like they're waiting longer to buy.
I see.
I feel like people are buying later.
Huh.
So it's almost like they're forever home when they buy it because they might be in their 30s, I guess. Something like that.
Well, and I agree. And it's funny you mentioned that because I read an article on that about 5 or 6 years ago in one of these magazines. I don't know if it was Real Estate Today or something, whereby the person who wrote the article was theorizing that a lot of younger people are afraid to buy because their parents went through that 2007. You got to remember that was 13 years ago now.
Yeah, that makes sense actually.
And if they're 30, they were 17 then, and it's like in their mind, having a home was almost a burden.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
They don't
actually.
understand.
And that could be part of it actually.
Right.
I'm just noticing from what when I talk to buyers,
Yep.
a lot of them are just they're. I don't even know if they're afraid. I think they're just so comfortable renting, and they have someone shovel to their door. And,
absolutely, footloose and fancy free. They could. Well, we wanted what our parents had. We wanted the house with the backyard for the parties and the this and that, and the horseshoes. And I mean, my son doesn't really care about that stuff. He just wants to come in, go, eat, watch TV, play Xbox, and go somewhere else.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
that's the way they are. And they may be smarter because they didn't have.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I don't really disagree when you think about it.
We're up on a 2-story house and a ladder, patching.
Right. I also think that's probably what drove rents up.
Right.
I mean, the economy too, but I just think there's more people renting too.
Right.
Wow. Someone does buy the houses, so it doesn't really affect us that much.
Exactly. Everything sells eventually, right?
Exactly.
It's all based on price. So when you meet with a person, a potential client for the first time, you interview them. What's the process?
You mean if a buyer
that
calls
take?
me?
Yeah.
All right. So if a buyer calls me, first of all, we always ask if they're working with another realtor because they're supposed to call their realtor themselves, and then they're supposed to call us to set up appointments. I generally, if someone calls me to buy a house, I will ask them if they're pre-qualified. And if they're not, we send them to mortgage officers to be pre-qualified. Because I tell my sellers that anyone I bring through that door is going to be qualified to buy it.
Right.
And that's how we do it.
Okay.
Then we can get into open houses later and how, if they're effective or not. But yeah, I just feel like as far as the buyers, what I do is if I can, and sometimes I'll just show them the house if they say they're pre-qualified. I get the letter and I go in.
I see.
I like to meet them though. And we go over the whole process. I give them basically an orientation, I'd say.
Makes sense.
And it's the biggest purchase of their life. So you want to go, through, the purchase and sales. I give them a blank purchase and sales, blank offer sheets. I talk about inspections.
That's cool.
I give them closing disclosures too. Yeah. So they can see, like I said, listen, a lot of this stuff happens really fast, especially the purchase and sales now.
Right.
Sometimes, the way these houses are going so quickly, you're signing online, so we're not even explaining the purchase and sales. We're just sending it to you, hoping you read it.
Right.
And if you have questions, call us. Right.
That's a really good idea.
It is. I give them a blank one up front, and I say, this is the purchase and sales. It's boring reading, but read through it because there may not be. I might meet you to sign it, but there could be a situation where we need to sign it right away, and they're going to email it out to you. So look through it so you know what you're signing, because that day you're going to be so nervous, you're going to click, and you want to make sure that you know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So,
I'd never heard of that before. That makes so much sense. I mean, just getting them familiar with the paperwork and so on in advance, so you don't have to give a law lecture later on.
Exactly.
Going over the contract.
We do. I don't go over the whole contract with them. I'll go over the inspections and the closing date, mortgage contingencies, those kind of things, and I'll just hand it to them. So they get the blank offer sheet, they get the blank purchase and sales, closing disclosures, all that stuff. So
So when you meet these buyers and they agree, they say, "Hey, Scott or somebody on your team is going to work with with that." They agree to have them work with them. Now you're representing them, right? You're representing their interests, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And when I'm working with a buyer, absolutely. So you become a buyer's agent.
Right. And so they're using your expertise and your 16 years of experience, and really the experience of everyone in your team. If you start adding up all the years, it's probably over 100 years with Mike Stearns alone. That's got to be 60 or 70 years. All right. I hope Mike is listening.
I know, me too.
Right. But no, but I mean, that's important to a buyer, because now they're not only, you're not only finding them the house that they want in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of inconvenience, you're also providing all of that experience that they may not have, or their family members may not have. Because I remember, like, when I started looking, my first house way back, you had to bring dad with you, or your uncle who was in the construction business or something, and
because that was it, right? I mean, you just buying it or not.
My uncle was a great framer, and no one was a better framer, but he didn't know anything about electrical. He didn't know anything about septic systems. So you do, because you're doing this every single day with other clients.
Yes, exactly. So we go over we refer home inspectors and things like that too. So.
Now flip that over to the seller side. What's your approach with them when you meet the seller for the first time?
I basically I'm kind of laid back in a way where if I'm going to a market analysis to give someone, talk about how to sell a house, because some people bought a house but they've never sold one, so it's time to sell. So I bring a packet. I had a PowerPoint. I tried that. It wasn't my thing. I like to hand someone, because it's basically my promises, like what we're going to do for you.
Right.
So I hand them the PowerPoint, but I go over it with them. Page by page, basically what we're doing for advertising.
Was it like on an iPad kind of thing? Or
it was, but now it's an 8.5 by 11.
Okay, so you print it out. Okay.
Yeah, I print it all out.
Yeah, it's cool. So it's like a presentation
manual.
Okay.
Exactly. But I never give anyone a price the first day I get there, because people live differently. People don't. Some people take care of their houses.
Sure.
Some just don't.
Sure.
Some people have a lot of pets and things like that, where it does devalue the house.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
when I go to a market analysis, I go in and I ask for a tour right away. And I just say, tell me what upgrades you've done since you've owned the house, and we go through everything, look at the electrical panel, the boiler, septic wells, whatever we have to look at and find out. And I get all that information, go over what we do, like what our promises are to try to get the house sold for you. But we're like no gimmick kind of people. We're considered like a fair and honest team, and people have told me that. We're not going to buy your house if we don't sell it. And all of those are just gimmicks anyways. I don't think any of the people that say that actually ever bought anything. So it's one of those deals. But we're just going to be fair and honest with you and just go through the house. And then what I do is I do a market analysis for them, putting active listings, pending listings, sold listings, so they can get an idea what the value is.
Okay.
And then I do put a recommended price, but I always tell my people, you're deciding the price. I just got to make sure it's going to appraise with a bank. So if you tell me, hey, we're thinking 10,000 higher, we try it. And if it can appraise for 10,000, if you say 50, we're in trouble.
Sure.
We're not gonna be able to list it, because we know that it's unrealistic. So
when you do that pricing, do you look at the numbers and then come back, or is it all done right there and then?
Oh no, I leave.
Yeah,
and then
it's a two-step process.
Yeah,
I always did the two-step process. I know there are some people that
go in with their contracts and sign.
I never got a handle on that. In my whole career, I never got a handle on that. I always had to go back and look at the data, the hard data. Because like you said, when I buy a foreclosure, an auction property, and if there's a pet, if I hear a dog barking during the auction, minus 8. I do minus 8. That's in my head, because I know all those floors have to come out, and there's all those other things. But that's why
makes sense.
Yeah. I think that two-step process is so important.
Yeah, so I'll either email it to them, depending on if they're in, they do the email, that kind of thing. Some people don't, so I'll just bring it back the next day, or a day or two, whatever it might be.
I see.
But yeah, I'm low pressure with that stuff. I just like to, and I like to take my time and really get the right price on it.
And plus, it allows you to vet them, and they are vetting you at the same time to make sure it's a good working relationship, right?
And I always tell them too. I'm like, please don't sign any contracts until you get, till we talk again. Give me the day or two, because there are a lot of high pressure people that'll, sign.
Right.
So, and it works out.
How do you find the sellers right now? Are the sellers like agreeing with the prices that you're giving them?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's been, I feel like at this point we're like almost like a balanced market, where for a while it was a seller's market, right? So, I mean, things are selling for sure right now, but I just feel like it's more balanced now. So but the sellers have been reasonable. All of mine that I've dealt with have been reasonable as far as pricing. Yeah.
Really? Okay. Good.
I think people are looking at all the websites too,
right?
So they have ideas before you even get there about what it could be.
Preconceived.
And it's not always right, by the way.
Right. Zillow and
Zillow,
don't you hate them?
I hate them.
Yeah.
I hate them because they're just there's a lot of inaccurate information.
Yeah.
I can tell you, like, if someone I tell in my pamphlet it says don't look at Zillow, and I'm talking about my buyer's pamphlet. And the reason for that is because half the things on Zillow they're not for sale.
Right.
I'll have someone call me up. Zillow gets things from the town hall and all their information. So if someone owes $300,000 on a house,
right,
and then they owe $50,000 on a second mortgage, and the second mortgage is foreclosing, it goes on Zillow for $50,000.
Doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
I can tell you, I could get that call and someone says, "Oh, you got to get me into this house. It's in North Smithfield. It's $50,000." And I say, "Are you on Zillow?" "Yes." "Okay, go to Realtor.com, and if you see it on Realtor.com, call me back." And I don't get the callbacks.
Yeah, and of course the data, the data matrix they use, I don't understand. They're comparing houses on main roads with houses on back streets and vice versa.
And there's waterfronts compared to
it's just all mixed in. But, wow. Well, you know what? This is great information. We got a bunch to go, but let's take our first commercial break, and we will be right back.
Real Estate Pro Talk is a live radio talk show dedicated to educating its listeners on the entire spectrum of real estate matters. Part of the American dream is owning a home or investment property, or perhaps even becoming a real estate agent yourself. Paul Vanas and his team of real estate professionals have over 250 combined years of experience in the industry. In other words, we can make it happen for you. Why go down the road less traveled when we can put you directly on the real estate superhighway? Whether buying or selling in today's complicated real estate market, or if you just need advice about jumping into the real estate business for a career change, you'll need a decisive edge based on experience. Call Paul Vanas at 401-265-6144 for a free, no-obligation consultation. That's Paul Vanas at 401-265-6144.
And welcome back to Real Estate Pro Talk. We're still here with Scott McGee of the Stearns McGee team with RE/MAX Properties. Our first real estate tip of the week. This time of year is time to check those sump pumps in your basement. The water table, for those of you who don't know what a water table is, but the water table in the ground is typically the highest this time of year. The earth pushes that water in the ground up higher than any other time of the year. And if you have a sump pump in your basement, pumping that water out of your basement to keep the water out, you should really check those sump pumps, because those sump pumps fail. The little switches on the sump pumps sometimes get rusty and they don't turn the pump on. And if you don't go down in your basement too often, you just might find you'll go downstairs and you might have a little pond down in your basement, which is something you don't want to have. I would actually go as far as to go down to the big box store or hardware store and buy a secondary pump and keep it on the shelf just in case you're in the middle of a situation and the pump just won't work. You can always swap out the pumps. They're not expensive at all, but if you have that type of situation where you have a wet basement, they're really worth having. So check out those sump pumps from now until probably May 15th or so is the high water table season, and you might want to make sure that, again, you don't have a problem. So, Scott, getting back to the interview, great stuff. How do the buyers, in your opinion, you've been doing this a long time now, how do you feel that the buyers and agents and sellers agents, how do they differ? Obviously they have to work together. They're like two lawyers, right?
That's
they're
the way
like
I
a lawyer with a
describe it,
plaintiff and a defendant, right? You still got to.
I describe it the same way.
Okay.
Buyers, sellers. Basically, I do a lot of listings,
Right.
so I'm a listing agent mostly. I do buyers also, but I actually enjoy doing buyers because as a listing agent, we're beat up all the time, right? So we're basically going to get the listing and interviewing with the seller. So you hope you get the job, basically, right?
Sure.
So you get the job, but then you go over the pricing, and they may generally the seller wants more money than it could be worth or whatever. So but they've been reasonable. I'm just saying, like. So, you're kind of not arguing, but it's another little battle.
Sure.
And then once you sell the property, Then you're negotiating the price, getting beat up again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we go through home inspections. So within the first 10 days of the sale, they come in to do all their due diligence and, all the inspections, and we get beat up again.
Right.
So it's like negotiating again, and
Exactly.
trying to keep the sale together at the same time.
Really?
So with buyers, I love it because I can go out there and do it to them.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
You
It's like,
get your vengeance, right?
yeah, right. No, and it's true though. I really enjoy working with buyers. It's fun because a lot of them, a lot of first time buyers are fun too.
Wow.
Just finding them the right thing, and just kind of getting them the best deal we can. So, but as a seller's agent, you're trying to get the most money you can,
Yeah.
and as a buyer's agent, you're trying to obviously get it as less
Absolutely.
as you can.
Absolutely.
A lot of people think I think realtors have this. People think we're pigs, basically. Like, we just want money, we just want closings, and it's not like that at all.
Absolutely.
Because as a buyer's agent, you're trying to get the price down, which as a realtor, you're making less money.
Right.
It doesn't matter. What you're trying to do. You're trying to do your job, and hey, you get a reward at the end. You should be happy with
Exactly.
it. That's kind of how I look at it. But
Absolutely.
it is. It's fun being buyer's agent, and but I do obviously more listings than I do buyers.
It's funny because a lawyer told me this a long, long time ago, way back when I started. He said a win-win situation or a win-win deal is when both parties bleed the same amount of blood.
Right, exactly.
So
a win-win is if they're both at the same closing table.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I don't think a lot of buyers, even sellers, understand that there's a safety net in all of the sales that we do for them, buyer or seller. The buyer may always feel that they're paying too much, but if they're not a cash buyer, if they're going to the bank, you got that appraisal. That's their safety net.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing with the seller. The seller, there's a safety net, there's no way that you're going to undersell a property. It's going to always sell for fair market value. It's like putting something on eBay. It's going to sell for fair market value.
Yeah,
But a lot of sellers don't understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and I just feel like I get like a lot of people. I feel lucky sometimes, and I'll give you a little story. And I won't give you any names, but I had a woman that lived on a lake, and she's like, "Oh, I want to list this house," and it was, probably a 350. It ended up being like a 300 basically. And she said to me, she goes, "Listen," she says, "I'm going to take the first $50,000 I get for this house." Because I only paid like 17, I think she said at the time. I said, "Excuse me?" She said, "I'm going to take the first $50,000 offer I'm taking." And I was like, "Well, you know what? We're going to do better than that for you, Right. But it's just I'm lucky in that way where I feel like I get those kind of people a lot.
Yeah.
Where I think some people could take advantage of them. I'm not saying realtors, but some people could,
Yeah.
and or they went to the neighbor and said, "Oh, give me $50,000 for this house,"
Exactly.
So I feel lucky in that way with the listings.
It's weird, you when you're in this business for probably a year, I would say, you have more stories to tell on a Saturday night at a party.
Oh yeah,
and you got people huddled around you, and you say, "Oh, if you think that one's a good one, you gotta hear this one." And it's just amazing. Because, as you were saying that, I remember having a client years ago. The house was like 270, and it was a little high, and we weren't getting a lot of activity. And he called me on like 20 minutes before an open house. I was actually preparing to pack up and go to his house for open house. And he called me and he said, "Paul, what's it going to take to sell this house today?" And I said, "Well, you should probably, I don't know, put it on for $250. Let's lower it 10% right now." And he said, "Tell you what, put it on for $225."
Wow, that's a big one.
Wow. I mean, and I asked him, I said, "Do you mind telling me why you're doing this?" I said, "Because I think $225 is too low." And he goes, "No, we'll get into that later." And of course, we had the thing in the open house, and $225. I had over full price offers, and it was pure pandemonium.
Right.
And then at the closing, I finally asked him. I said, "Why did you, insist that I lowered to $225? I said, I could have gotten you more money." He goes, "No, you don't understand." He goes, "My family member just died, and I inherited about $10 million.
Oh, there you go, right?
And I had to get to Florida ASAP to probate that will,
Sure.
and I wasn't worrying about $25,000.
Right. You never know somebody's story.
And he didn't disclose that to me until the closing.
Right.
So these kooky,
I'm like
stories.
you too. Like I don't pick and ask them, because some people have, a private. They don't want to tell you all those stories too.
Right. And those are the stories we like to tell on a Saturday night.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So what are the common mistakes you see like a buyer or seller make? Is it with sellers? Is it basically just price or what?
Common mistakes. That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I don't know if you felt like the seller's the biggest mistake a seller could make is price. I know the buyer's the biggest mistake. They, at least for me, was they wanted to take a stab too low. And
Sure.
then they've alienated the seller,
Right.
and the seller won't give them the
They
time
make
of
them
day.
mad,
I don't
yeah.
know if you've experienced
Yeah,
the same
absolutely,
thing.
absolutely. Like too low of an offer.
Right.
And you can I don't mind doing low offers on bank properties.
Okay.
You know,
Right,
I'll
yeah.
offer whatever they tell me to offer, but I always give my advice. You know,
Yeah.
the bank properties we don't care because we're not insulting anyone but corporate, basically, right?
Right.
But if you really want the house, and we lowball a seller who loves their house, there are people that love it. There are people that cry at their closings because they love their house so much, right?
Exactly.
So
They're walking away from.
yeah, and those are the people you don't want to insult, because they'll just, and then there's a lot of people that don't have to sell, that, those situations where, they'll just laugh at it and
Right.
say, forget it. If I see that guy's name in front of me again, if he gives me $200,000 more, I'm not selling it to
Right,
him,
right.
those situations for sure.
Yeah, I think I think the buyers don't realize that if they buy a house and they successfully negotiate with the seller, they're getting fair market value, which is
Right.
no different than going down to Best Buy and buying a TV, and it's fair market value. You can't walk up to the register at Best Buy for the 55-inch screen TV and say, hey, you guys are asking $599. Will you take $499?
Right, exactly.
So they're getting what they're paying for. And I've always tried to explain to buyers, like, the difference between a deal and a good deal is just sometimes a couple $1,000s.
Right.
Because if you can get a house $5,000 under fair
Right.
market
I
value.
had one recently too, and
Right.
the buyer was like, "Oh, should I go maybe like 5,000 under value or whatever?" But there was more people bidding on it. I said, "No,
Right.
you just give them what they want for it,
Right.
and make them happy."
Exactly.
Because for 5,000 over the course at these interest rates now, over the course of 30 years,
Doesn't
what's it
make
gonna
squat
get,
difference, yeah.
$20 in your mortgage maybe or something,
Absolutely.
So it's worth it,
So it's I think it's like if for every 100,000 you borrow right now, it's like $475 or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's amazing.
juxtapose that with if it's a $250,000 house, $475 times 3, juxtapose that with rent that you'd have to rent a
Yeah.
tenement for.
Exactly.
Right?
So it's like free money. It really is
Yeah,
at this point,
yeah. It's
But,
crazy how
yeah.
the difference.
Yeah.
In
I mean, the
rates.
prices are definitely like higher right now, I'd say.
Yep.
But with the interest rates being low too, it's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
Market's been crazy.
So once you and your team, you put buyer and seller together, they sign a sales contract, and now the real work. I always called it the real work
Sure.
begins, right? Because now you got to package this thing up and
Right.
hold it together, right?
Exactly. And inspections can be tricky, and when I go to a seller too, like I have a pamphlet for them too.
Mm-hmm.
And our biggest things to overcome is going to be a roof, septic system, and a well. Those are if we can get through those,
Yep.
you're 90% there. So
Right.
if you get to a house, like in Woonsocket where they have sewer and water, these areas.
Those are non-issues.
Yeah, those are non-issues, and if they say, "Hey, my roof's 10 years old," great. Okay, so we're in good shape, anyways.
Right.
So you can work through those things. But there are a lot of TV shows in Beverly Hills where people getting $50,000 off at their home inspections, and they're trying it in our area, and it's I've actually told an agent before, we're not in Beverly Hills. Tell your buyer we're not in Beverly Hills. Stop watching the TV show. Shut it off. We're gonna give them $1,000 and not getting 50.
Right.
Things like that, because we get some ridiculous. Some people will come in high. And then they say, "Well, we'll go in at the home inspection and we'll just try to get it down." And it doesn't work like that. I tell my buyers too, we're going to try to get the best deal up front and know what we're getting. That's what we're going to try to do.
Yeah.
We don't want to go into a home inspection and unless there's something wrong,
Right.
of course, right? So,
Right. But primarily, you're looking at the big ticket items,
Right.
the wells, the roofs, the septic
Septics.
systems, something that after they buy that might cost them some
right,
serious
like if
money.
someone
right?
has a cesspool,
Yeah.
they have the 1 year to replace it,
Yeah.
but that could be, we had one in North Smithfield that was $34,000
Wow.
because they needed a sand filter,
Really?
so
No kidding.
those are deal breakers,
That's
though.
a big ticket item. Yeah.
And we've talked about this before with Title V.
Mm-hmm.
Title V in Massachusetts, the seller has to get their septic checked before it's on the market,
Certified,
basically,
yep.
right? And we don't have that in Rhode Island. I wish we did, because it
Me
would
too.
save us a lot of time.
Absolutely.
I don't understand why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you look into that for me?
Yeah, I'll have to ask around. I'll have to ask around because I've always felt the same way because it would save so many loopholes. And the problem I've always had is that you see a house come on the market active, and then it goes pending, and then a week later it goes active again. So you
And
know
back on market,
something happened,
Right.
And you'll ask, well, why did it go from active to pending to active? And for our audience, folks in the audience who don't understand or know what pending is, it's basically in MLS, in the multiple listing service, when we have an active listing, which means it's actively on the market. When we have a buyer and a signed contract, we have to give it in what's called a pending status. So all the other agents in Rhode Island know that it's no longer on the market. So when it goes from active to pending and then back active again, all of a sudden we know something happened in that sale, and all of a sudden the red flags,
Absolutely.
and the sirens are going off, especially if it's a septic system.
Sure.
That kind of tells you something, right? How many of those do you have?
Right. I know, and too many actually. That's one of the things I'd like to change too.
Yeah.
Get rid of Zillow and then work on Title V.
Right. Wow. So do you see, like right now, do you see a lot of these sales not coming together because of those big ticket items, or pretty much?
For the most part, we get through them because the seller knows that something's going to have to be done anyways.
Yep.
And I'm just saying, like with the septic system, especially a roof too.
Right.
The roof might not be leaking, but it's at the end of its life basically, and then.
Functional.
But at the same time, if a roof is $10,000 and at the home inspection they deem it like at the end of its life, that seller shouldn't have to pay for the whole thing usually. Because that the buyer's gonna get the betterment of the next 30 years.
Right.
Right.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and it's hard to explain that to people sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
listen, I understand, like, you want the roof or whatever, but you're gonna benefit for the next
That's right.
30 years from it. So you got to kick in a little too.
That's
probably.
like radon. I've trained my agents to say, if they find radon, that's a good thing, because the seller has to put the radon mitigation system in that gets rid of the problem, instead of you finding out about this 5 years from now and you putting the system in.
Exactly.
Basically the same thing, right?
And living with it.
Right, and living with it.
So.
The same thing with termites. Everyone hears termites. Well, depending on, if there's no damage and there's just termites, the seller has to usually agree to pay for the treatment, and the buyer gets the benefit of it.
Right,
forever.
Absolutely.
Instead of paying $800, $1,000 for a termite
termites
treatment.
are expensive.
Now they are, especially if people have cement around the foundation, like a walkways and stuff, where they have to drill into the cement, and
it's pricey.
It's all labor.
Yeah, it is. It's pricey.
So when you meet with these folks, and you're obviously holding this thing together until the closing, once it's closed, do you stay in contact with them? Do you put them on some sort of a mailing?
I do a mailing list, kind of simple, like recipes, things like that, or like you were just talking about real estate tips with sump pumps and things like that. It depends what we're doing, but sometimes we'll send out like a new year, change your battery in the smoke detectors, things like that. But we keep in touch with everybody. Yeah.
I know I repeat this all the time, almost on every show, but I was taught way back when that you have to. Someone has to hear your name 6 times in 1 year to remember you 62% of the time. Well, 62 is closer to 50 than it is 100. So it's like a 50-50 shot. So you really have to stay on it.
So we try to do like once a month.
Okay.
And not be annoying. Like we'll send a recipe or something. We're not calling people or anything, but and we get good feedback on it.
Yep. Yeah, things have changed. It makes it, with the internet now, it makes it a lot easier to stay in touch with people, I would think, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Back in my day, we had to go, buy 100 little American flags, and on the 3rd of July, go by everybody's house and put them in their lawn, and, buying pumpkins.
Well, you had the books back then, too, right? The MLS books.
Yeah, exactly.
Used to come in.
Exactly. It was a little different scenario. Wow. So, hey, you know what? It's we got about 12 minutes to go. Let's take one more commercial break, and then we can get back and maybe talk about some of your listings that you have out there and the benefits of them. But we'll be right back.
Real Estate Pro Talk is a live radio talk show dedicated to educating its listeners on the entire spectrum of real estate matters. Part of the American dream is owning a home or investment property, or perhaps even becoming a real estate agent yourself. Paul Vanas and his team of real estate professionals have over 250 combined years of experience in the industry. In other words, we can make it happen for you. Why go down the road less traveled when we can put you directly on the real estate superhighway? Whether buying or selling in today's complicated real estate market, or if you just need advice about jumping into the real estate business for a career change, you'll need a decisive edge based on experience. Call Paul Vanas at 401-265-6144 for a free, no-obligation consultation. That's Paul Vanas at 401-265-6144.
And welcome back to Real Estate Pro Talk. We're still here with Scott McGee of the Stearns McGee team. Our second real estate tip of the week, electrical circuit breakers on your electric panel. For those of you who have circuit breakers, and most houses now have circuit breakers, every one of those breakers should be flipped on and off at least once a year. Most of the electrical manufacturers suggest that every circuit be flipped once a year. Even though you don't pop a breaker or overload the system, you should go downstairs, preferably in the summertime when you have light and you don't have to worry about turning the light off and you'll be in the dark. But every single breaker should be turned on and off, including the main breaker to the house, the 100 amp or 200 amp breaker, because I've actually had those main breakers stick, especially if it's a moist basement and the system was overloaded and the breaker didn't kick, so a resulting house fire. So take the time, this time, we're coming up on the spring, and go downstairs and pop all those breakers on and off. Just give them a quick on and off. Granted, you're going to have to reset your clocks or clock radios or whatever else is in the house that are on those circuits. But
clock radios.
It's well worth the... I still have a clock radio.
Clock radios.
Yeah,
this guy just said clock radios. Who has a clock radio out there?
I do. But Scott, before we get into your listing, where do you think the real estate market's going right now? Do you get a good feeling?
Yeah, it's really hot right now. It really is. I do know that a lot of people wait till they say, I'm going to wait till the spring. So I think the inventory will climb then.
Right.
And that's generally why I keep my listings on all winter usually.
Yep.
Just because I tell people if someone's buying a house in December or January, they're serious.
Yep.
Because no one really wants to move in those months.
Absolutely.
So I always tell them, leave it on because the inventory is low because people pull them off.
Yep.
I think the market's going to be good though.
Really?
I feel like it. Yeah. Even with newer inventory, I feel like it's really going to be good.
Do you find, and I don't know, I ask everybody this question, do you find that the holiday season doesn't kill the real estate market like it used to years ago?
Absolutely. So I always tell people, and it's just because of what I feel. It's not like statistics or anything.
Right.
I'm busy till like December 20th.
Isn't that amazing?
And then after that, I'll slow down at Christmas, and then I'm busy again the end of January.
Yeah.
Like I say, Valentine's Day is like more the date, but
really?
I'm slower. If there's a slow period, which I really never feel like there's a real slow period.
Right.
But if there was one, it would be Christmas to Valentine's Day. But it's really like it's not that slow though.
Yeah, I don't know if it's our generation, that how we were brought up. Like after Thanksgiving, you were mentally taught to wind down until at least after the first of the year. But I know the younger buyers that I deal with now, they consider Christmas just like almost like a 3-day weekend kind of thing.
Exactly.
And, the day after Christmas, they're right back out there doing whatever.
Right.
Do you see the same
thing?
thing?
I agree. I agree. Yeah,
it's a different mindset now.
Yeah.
It's not that.
And you learn something new every day. I never heard the circuit breaker thing that you just talked about.
Oh yeah,
it's funny. I never heard that. That's great.
Yeah. That's the Square D manufacturer. They suggested you flip the breaker. I had a house years ago that someone was doing some electrical work in the house, and they overloaded, and the breaker didn't pop. And then the main didn't pop, and then all of a sudden they smelt something, and their panel was on fire.
No kidding! Wow.
No one died. There was no disaster, but it's because the people didn't flip. I guess moisture can get in there and kind of prevent the thing from flipping over. So let's talk about some of your listings. What do you got out there right now? Maybe our audience might call you after the show.
We got two new ones. So we have two open houses this weekend. One's 5 Vincent Avenue, North Smithfield. That's a super cute, as I'd call it, a 2-bed.
Yep.
That's going on at $249. Okay. It's got a really nice yard too.
That's affordable. $249.
Yeah, right off of Greenville Road, convenient to 146, but it's still private.
Yep.
Another one, 1295 Iron Mine Hill Road. We have an open house. That's 12 to 1:30 on Sunday. 1295 Iron Mine is actually a ranch. It's like 1,200 square feet, 3 beds, 1 bath, but it's been updated.
Okay.
So it's a really nice house. And actually, I'm going to show that at 420 if anyone wants to come by tonight.
There you go, piggyback. Show up, right?
Right.
Show up.
Because that's going to be hot. $299 North Smithfield right now. There's not a lot in that range, so we know that's going to be busy.
So like both of those houses, Scott, what's the profile of the typical buyer? Are they the ones that are using FHA mortgages with 3.5% down?
Yeah, Rhode Island Housing FHA.
Yeah.
So, either way, with the 3.5% down, there's some really good programs out there right now. So,
that 3.5% down, they can own the house for $1,500 a month.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And not too much down,
Right.
So.
That's great.
For sure. And I have another one coming back on the market in the north end. This one's actually it's going to be a great deal for someone. It's 71 Winter Court in Woonsocket. Not listed right now, but it'll be coming on. And that's $699, and that's a 7244 square foot house.
Oh my God!
So it's like an old mansion,
Wow,
and the
that's
woodwork
wild.
is phenomenal. It's beautiful.
Really, I
Yeah,
bet.
throughout.
I bet it's up in the
And
north end.
Yep,
north end of
right up
Woonsocket.
on the hill too. So it's like a nice private location. So
Wow.
that one's coming up soon. If anyone's interested in that, I was hoping to sell that to a New England Patriot or something.
Yeah,
I figure it's not far from Foxborough,
Right.
So to the Gillette,
Exactly.
and it is 10 bedrooms.
Yeah.
So like they have their families come, things like that. I think
10 bedrooms. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, so that'll be a cool one coming up. But right now, mine and Vincent are our targets for the weekends.
Really, the open houses are they Saturday? You typically Saturday, Sunday
Yeah,
only.
Saturday, Sunday.
Only?
Though,
Okay.
We're doing both of these on Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're in the computer too now, so
I see.
they'll see them on.
And
the
you
phone,
get a lot of people that show up at open
yeah,
houses.
open
now?
houses have been pretty good.
Yeah.
They were probably getting. Well, I did one on the 3-family on Wood Avenue.
Okay.
Last week, and
You did an open on a 3.
I did an open on
Oh my
3
God,
because
you are the man. You're like
demand was high.
Superman.
There
You're
was a cou-
Superman.
There was a couple of us on it.
Right? Wow.
But we ended up having, I think, maybe 14 come through. 14 different couples
On
or
a
families.
3-family?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it sold over list price. So
Really?
that was neat.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the profile of that buyer? Are they looking to live
Boston,
there, or is it
from Boston
to live or to invest?
to live. Yeah. One of them was going to live on the first floor, and the rest. But like talking to that buyer, he basically said it's outrageous in Boston. So
Wow.
yeah, they'd rather just come here. So
I went to an auction a few years ago for my son because my son was working in Boston, and I said, "Well, I'll hit the auction circuit up in Boston." This is 2 years ago, and I was in Quincy, and there was a dilapidated 3-family house that we were in front of. The porches were falling off. It had that tar siding.
Oh, yeah.
It had a flat roof. I mean, this house needed $150,000 if it needed a dollar. And here I am from Paul from Northern Rhode Island. I go up there and I register, and the bidding opened at $550.
Wow.
And
Right.
someone bought it for $680.
Wow.
And
Wow.
and I had to go up to the guy after the auction was over, and I said, "Look, you got to tell me what do you think you're going to be getting for this place?" He said, "I'm going to put 2 into it, so 780, 880, and I'm going to sell it for $1,250,000."
Wow.
And I said,
Wild.
"You got to be kidding me." He goes, "No." He goes,
Huge numbers.
I'm going to condominiumize each floor, and each floor is going to be $400,000."
Wow.
And I said, "Oh my God!"
That's wild.
Here I am with my little listing down, in Providence, Mount Pleasant Avenue for $129,900. That's all beat up. But
That's one thing I like to say too. Like you just said, little listing, right? So we've had people, I've had people say to me, and I'm sure you've had it too. Well, we didn't want to bother you. Our house was only worth $125.
Right.
We'll sell anything. And it's. Repeat people too. You know what I mean? Like if it's a trailer, we don't care.
Absolutely.
Like it's those are nice too. So
Absolutely.
Whatever. So I always say, just call me whatever it is. Let me decide. I want to help you too.
Yep.
It's not always about like the money part of it.
yeah,
It's
that's
just,
the
like,
market. I mean,
the market
the full
and
spectrum.
meeting people and helping people too.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's pretty noble. So you're optimistic. Obviously, you said the market's heading up, and
Yeah,
so you're
it's been-
optimistic. Your team members are all pumped
Oh, yeah,
up and
everyone's
psyched,
pumped up.
and
we've been so
yeah.
busy. So I mean, we haven't had a team meeting in like a month because we're
Really?
just running around.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's been crazy.
Yeah, I know Jen. I've met Jen out there a few times, and Kathy,
Yeah.
over the years,
Yeah.
and Mike. I haven't seen Mike in a while. I used to see him quite often back when I lived in town.
Yeah, he's busy too. He's got a lot of new constructions he's
Really?
selling too. So,
Wow.
but we just basically have a group text. So there's 12 of us on the group text.
Oh.
Yeah.
Does that drive you crazy?
Well, it's kind of funny.
I can't.
you
I
know.
can't deal with it. I
No,
can't deal
no.
with group text.
Well, Linda Morrissey.
Yeah, I do.
She's one that just says, "Stop texting."
Right. That's the way I am. I have friends that do that, and all of a sudden the thing is bing, 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 bing all
Right.
night long, and I'm like, I've had it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to get used to that. Wow.
funny.
Well, we got about a minute and a half left, Scott. Let's give the audience your contact information, and also those open houses you just mentioned, because I'm sure some people might want to show up at those.
Sure.
Some of our listening audience.
And I'll be there at 4:20 today, 20 minutes from now. So,
That is-
but that's not the open house. 1295 Iron Mine Hill Road. That's the ranch. It's nice and bright over there too. That we have that open Sunday 12 to 1:30, 5 Vincent Avenue, Sunday 11 to 12:30. Iron Mine's $299 and Vincent is $249. Two brand new listings on today.
Beautiful.
So
Yep.
yeah, and my contact information is Scott McGee, and it's 401-639-2906.
Okay, and then
That's my cell phone. Direct.
Do you prefer anybody use a website or anything like that? Or
I like the
email?
phone calls or a text.
Okay.
Right directly
so
to my cell.
you're old school.
I remember you. I remember Paul's. I don't know how much time I got here, but
Yeah, we got a minute.
When we had showing instructions on Paul's listings, it used to say no smoke signals. Just call me. I remember I actually saw smoke signals. I laughed one day.
Yeah, I was very resistant
Yeah.
to the change for a while there. I kind of had to suck it up and move on. And
Just
you know,
call me. It said no smoke
yeah.
signals. I don't need this.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I like people to call me, especially the agents, is because I like to ask them if
Make sure it's a fit.
Yeah,
Sure.
instead of wasting everybody's time and of course my time too, because I want to make sure they're not just using my house as some filler
Sure.
to get to the grand prize house.
Right,
But
right, exactly.
yeah, that's
So-
cool. Well, we're going to wrap it up for this week. Thank you, Scott, and your team. Good luck. Best wishes. Glad to have you
Thanks
on.
for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
It was
welcome.
fun.
Super time. We'll have to have you on again. We'll talk to you next week on Real Estate Pro Talk.
Have a good weekend.